Go to getamazonnow.com and give a gift card.
Welcome to humanity. This is Hour 1.
Whatever it takes, we got to say whatever it takes is what it took.
This is Brock Lesnar, and you're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Yo, hi, this is Sugar Ray Leonard, and you listen to Fight Net Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to listen to Fight Net Radio.
Me, Harvey Oswald, what's your name? I know how am I supposed to know you?
This is Frank Shamrock. You're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Hi, this is Mia, the Knockout St. John. You're listening to Fight Net Radio, and there's no way I would ever touch Lee.
This is Chuck Jackson the Dell.
I am Stephen Bonner, and you're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Dan Henderson, you're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Everybody, welcome to Fight Net Radio, where Lee's burning every bridge there is out there. All right.
Hi, this is Manny Pacquiao. I'll fight anybody on FightNetRadio.com.
You're playing touch butt with that dork in the park.
Welcome to Fight Net Radio, where I am joined by former Strikeforce fighter. You realize you'd be a UFC fighter now, don't you? You would have made UFC. You were on track. Elaina Maxwell has joined me on Fight Net Radio, long-standing contributor, amazing fighter, multi-time champion, now a mom. I almost have to do the ... and now a mom. Does this make you the baddest mom on the block?
I don't know. I think probably the most intimidating because I have a hard time making mom friends. I have very, very few mom friends that I talk to other moms on the internet, but that doesn't really count.
You're in mom support groups. Well, you're a mom. You're a married woman now. You're a former fighter. Are you getting back into the fight game shortly? Are you going to start training again like you did afore?
Actually, I've been really getting into executive protection, security, and I would like to become a police officer. I wanted to become a police officer before I started fighting, actually. And one of my old teammates, he's actually a sergeant for the SJPD now in San Jose, California. Mm-hmm. But he basically said, hey, Elaina, if you want to become a police officer, it's either the force or fighting. So you have to make a choice. And, I chose to be a fighter. I figured it would be a very small window. And actually I ended up fighting and training hardcore for about 20 years. So...
Well, you're not old enough to actually make that math work. So let's rewind all this. Where does a little Laney Beefy? Oh, and I've got to get to where did Beefy come from? For those of you who don't know, Elaina Maxwell, a.k.a. Laney, a.k.a. Beefy. Let's start with something simple. Where does Beefy come from in your nickname?
So my very first trainer, Kung Lee, his trainer actually nicknamed me. So... And the reason for that is because at the time I worked at Outback Steakhouse and, they serve a lot of steak. Wow. They serve a lot of meat. So they asked me, hey, Elaina, we were training one Saturday morning. Elaina, what the heck did you have for dinner last night? And I told them, I just had some steak. I just had some beef. And then that was my nickname.
That's quite...
They gave it to me.
That's a rough nickname. I can only think of one other Beefy, and that's in boxing, and it's a very obscure reference. Okay, so where does...
I know, it's not the prettiest.
No, based on how hard you strike, there's so many good ones for you. For those that don't know Elaina's work, let me tell you firsthand, she's one of the best strikers I know. I know firsthand because she hit me, and of all the people I've been punched by, and that's a big list, yours is the only one that still stands out in my mind as the one that hurt me the most. And that was just...
Well, you asked me to punch
it was just
you.
It was just an arm shot. That's a true story. And it was at the Thomas and Mack Center before a Tough Enough event. I even know where it was when I got the punch. That's how familiar the memory is with me. So where does it all start for you? How old are you when you start and you decide to, okay, I'm going to go do this?
Oh, are you talking about fighting?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was just 18 years old. A lot of times people I started actual martial arts training when I was 18. So to some people, I got started kind of late because a lot of fighters nowadays are like, oh, I've been doing kung fu or karate or wrestling since I was 4 and, blah, blah, blah. And I started kickboxing at age 18. And I literally just called 411. My first trainer picked up the phone and invited me to a free class, and then I was hooked. So I literally just did it for like an off-season workout for volleyball because at the time I played college volleyball.
So you're not So let me get this straight. You're a typical Northern California volleyball playing blonde-haired girl just having fun who's looking for something to do in her spare time, and you take up kickboxing?
Yeah, it was like the latest fad in workout trends. Like, I guess now it's like pole dancing or Pilates or, you know what I mean? I don't even know what the latest trends are.
It might be Bikram yoga. And truthfully, it might even be jiu-jitsu the way it is right now. It's very BJJ is really popular right now. It's on a big uptick.
I gotta agree with you there.
Okay, so you go in, and what did you get out? When does the competitive edge kick in, where you think, I'm wondering if I could do this against other human beings?
Well, the owner of the school asked me if I wanted to compete. And I said, yeah, I can compete. So I did a smoker against my teammate, or like an exhibition fight against one of my teammates.
Exhibition sounds so much better for the people who don't know. Smoker is the unofficial term of a non-sanctioned fight. The term gets used a lot. We like the term, just it's an unofficial bout.
Yeah, I guess. I've never thought of it that way. I've just always called it a smoker.
They're
but
smokers.
Yeah, it is an exhibition fight. And so we fought, and it was fun. We actually did a couple, but then we started doing exhibitions with other gyms, and then I literally fought this one girl like 9 or 10 times. She was much bigger than me. I was like $150, and she was like well over 200 pounds. We fought like 10 times. But yeah, and then I got on the national Sancho team, and so my first fight was basically in 97, and it's now 2017, and I pretty much, decided that I'm not going to fight anymore. And, I don't know when I actually like officially retired, but I've just spent so much time in the gym that right now at this time in my life, I'd rather be with my son.
Okay. And I completely get that. I don't blame you. I mean, a 20-year career would be a great way to cap it all off. So you're doing kickboxing. You're doing basically pro wrestling and fighting the same girl every week on the same card. Are you getting paid for this, or are you still just doing it for the love of the sport?
Like, I honestly, I was I was amateur for a really long time because there wasn't a lot of fights for pro females, and all of the opportunities. And, when I graduated high school, I was a solid 150 pounds. And now thinking back in retrospect, I was just telling my husband this. I feel like I fought at the wrong weight class my whole career. I should have been fighting at 135 because that's pretty much where all the opportunities were at. And all I had to do was lose 10, 15 pounds, and I would have been right there. But I just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and like lifting more weights and, just getting bulkier and bulkier. And, all of a sudden I'm like a solid 150, 160. And the only way for me to make 135 is for me to lose like 15, 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah. When I met you, you were a CrossFit junk. Like you were rocked up for your size. That's how I always remembered you. Really cut, really well defined. That's just your body type. You had always been in phenomenal shape when I knew you.
Yeah, my body type is really good for bodybuilding too, but I never really wanted to get into that. If I did, it probably would have been like fitness which is like the more feminine bodybuilding. I don't think I could ever see myself doing like bodybuilding, like being super big, but I could maybe do like fitness, but I don't know. I mean,
all right, this is a good opportunity for the women who might be listening by some random chance on some random chat board. What would you say? Because when I knew you in 2006, 2007, you were in shape, an ass kicker, and pretty intimidating to guys in general. You were dating at that time. I don't want to go into who you were dating and all that because I don't want to make your husband upset because we agreed to that initially. But my question is this. What would you say to other women who go, yeah, guys don't like that?
You know, eventually you're going to find somebody that's going to like you just the way that you are. And when I met my husband, he wasn't looking for somebody. He wasn't looking for anybody. I wasn't looking for anybody. And we just hit it off. So, you know, I hate to say it, but it's when you're not looking is when you find the person that is meant for you. And, you know, don't try to change yourself. Just be yourself. And eventually you'll find a person that is exactly the person that you're supposed to be with.
It's funny you say that because I look at someone like Mackenzie Dern right now who's young and has her black belt. She has no issue being rocked up and being feminine and also being a legit badass black belt who can make big boys cry. Like she's that good on the ground. And she's, you know, there's a wave thanks to girls like you, girls like Ronda. Like you guys were all a part of that first class of coming in and going, you can be attractive and still kick ass. It's not a crime. They don't all have to look like Brazilian men who are shooting steroids, allegedly. But there was, you and I both know this, there was a whole string of women coming out that just, you guys don't look right. They didn't, you know. They're losing their chest body fat. They're down to 2% body fat. They look like emaciated messes. And I can understand that they were just competing in the sport, but I think it gets away from you, from Ronda, from people like Dern, where you guys are just happy in your own skin. You're just in good shape. And I think women today should embrace fighting and getting in shape. I want to believe that there's a movement towards it, that women shouldn't be afraid to be like that.
Oh, no, I mean, I think there definitely is, you know, for sure. But, you know, a lot of times people just like assume that, you know, I mean, even though it is kind of like tomboyish and whatnot, but I have to say, when I was, you know, training, fighting, and, you know, for competition, people would always assume that I was gay. So I would just, you know, they would just assume it. And it's just because, you know, female fighters have a lot of testosterone, but it's only from all the training and stuff like that. So, yeah, actually, when I first met my husband, he thought I was gay.
No, sir. Don't agree with that statement. Okay, so you're doing kickboxing. When do you make the switch and put on a gi and decide that you need to add a ground game to be a well-rounded fighter?
I think that happened, I want to say like maybe a year before, probably in like 2004, 2005, when Garth Taylor came to our school and he started teaching. He was actually my very first jiu-jitsu instructor, and he's in Santa Cruz. I'm pretty sure he still teaches in Santa Cruz.
I believe
But
he does.
surprisingly, when I was in Phuket, Thailand, and I was, you know, training and fighting there just for that 1 month, my my very first jiu-jitsu instructor, Garth Taylor, he was there, and he sat there. It was just so crazy to see him there, of all people. And but yeah, 2005 is, I think, around the time that I started. I started no gi first, and then I think I put on a gi. I got my first gi in like 2000. Later that year, and got really serious prior to my first fight, which I think was in 2006.
Okay.
Was when I had my very first MMA fight.
So what was the philosophy of your first professor in jiu-jitsu? It seems to me that all of them seem to have a philosophy. I mean, from all the champions, from Dean up to, you know, out to Robert and around the block.